Have you ever wondered what happens if you cry in space? On Earth, tears simply roll down your cheeks, gravity pulls them downward, and they eventually fall. But in space, things are very different. Astronauts live in microgravity, where there is almost no pull from gravity. In that environment, tears don't behave the way we expect. So, what actually happens? Let's explore the strange science of crying in space. When an astronaut starts to cry, tears still form in their eyes. The tear glands work the same way as they do on Earth. But without gravity, those tears don't fall down. Instead, they stay right where they are. The drops of liquid cling to the surface of the eye. They start to form a little bubble of water. And that bubble gets bigger as more tears are added. Astronauts describe it as having a ball of water stuck on your eye. Imagine trying to blink when a water bubble is glued to your eye. It feels uncomfortable, and sometimes even painful. The tears don't go away on their own. They can float to the corner of your eye. They may spread across your eyelid. And sometimes, they stick together and create a larger bubble. Eventually, you end up with a floating droplet of tears. That droplet doesn't fall, it just hangs there. Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield once demonstrated this on the ISS. He explained that in microgravity, tears don't fall off your face. Instead, they collect in one spot and keep growing. He even showed how the water blob could float around the cabin. It looked like a shiny, wobbly ball of liquid, and it didn't move until he brushed it away. This raises another question. What if an astronaut cries a lot? Would the water cover their eyes? Could it cause a problem for vision? The answer is yes, it could be very uncomfortable. A large bubble of tears can blur vision. It can sting if it mixes with irritants, and it doesn't drain like on Earth. So astronauts need to wipe the tears away with a towel, or they wait until the tears drift into a blob they can push aside. But crying in space is not just a curiosity. It teaches us something about fluid physics. On Earth, fluids move because of gravity. In space, fluids move because of surface tension. Surface tension makes the tears stick together. It keeps them attached to the eye. That's why tears don't roll down. They stay as bubbles until something disturbs them. This also explains why drinking water in space is tricky. Astronauts use straws and special pouches. Otherwise, the water would float away as blobs. Tears are no different. They float because nothing is pulling them down. It's weird, but it's real science. Now, let's think about the emotional side. Space is stressful and emotional. Astronauts miss their families. They face intense challenges. Sometimes they cry, just like anyone else. But in space, even emotions behave differently. Crying can bring comfort on Earth. Tears fall, and you feel a release. In space, that release feels incomplete. The tears don't fall away. They stick to your skin. It can feel frustrating. Imagine feeling sad but your tears won't drop. It's almost like your body is holding the sadness in. There's another danger too. If tears grow too large, they can block the nose. They could interfere with breathing. Astronauts have to be careful about how they wipe them. In microgravity, even small things matter. A bubble of tears can become a real hazard. But astronauts are trained to handle this. They carry tissues and absorbent cloths. They learn how to manage fluids safely. So crying in space is unusual, but not impossible to deal with. Scientists study this phenomenon carefully. They want to understand how the human body adapts. Microgravity changes everything. Blood moves differently. Fluids shift toward the head. Even faces look puffier in space. Tears are just another part of that story. Crying in space shows us how dependent we are on gravity. It's not just about keeping our feet on the ground. Gravity controls fluids, breathing, even emotions. Remove gravity, and everything feels unfamiliar. Crying becomes a science experiment. What about other fluids, like sweat? Sweat also doesn't drip in space. It clings to the skin. Astronauts often feel sticky after exercise. They wipe themselves with towels instead of showering. Once again, surface tension rules in space. The same applies to saliva and mucus. They don't move as easily. Fluids inside the body are affected too. That's why astronauts sometimes feel congested. Their sinuses don't drain the same way. Even a common cold feels different in space. Tears, sweat, mucus all behave in new ways. Crying just happens to be the most visible, and maybe the most emotional. Think about how poetry and music describe tears. They are symbols of sadness, relief, and connection. On Earth, tears fall, and we see them as powerful. In space, that symbolism changes. Tears don't fall, they float. They lose the drama of rolling down a face. Instead, they become tiny orbs of water. It almost looks beautiful, like liquid pearls. But for the astronaut, it feels strange. The first time astronauts experienced this, they were shocked. They realized emotions themselves feel different. Some even joke that it's impossible to cry properly in space. Others said tears just get in the way. But all agreed it's an unforgettable experience. This also makes us appreciate Earth more. Here, we don't think about gravity. We take it for granted. But in space, you notice its absence in every detail. Even in something as small as a tear. Crying in space is a reminder. Life on Earth is shaped by gravity. From the way we walk, to the way we drink, to the way we cry. Without gravity, life is unfamiliar. and that makes space travel challenging. Every small act becomes an experiment. Even wiping away tears becomes complicated. But that's why astronauts inspire us. They face these strange realities every day, and they share their experiences so we can learn. Videos of tears floating in space amaze millions on Earth. They make science feel real and human. They remind us that space exploration is not just technology. It's about people. People who laugh, cry, and feel emotions even in orbit. People who adapt to the weirdest conditions. People who prove that humans can survive beyond Earth. The next time you see the moon in the sky, remember that astronauts have looked back at Earth with tears in their eyes. Not falling tears, but floating ones. Tears that remind them of home. Tears that behave strangely but mean the same thing. Whether on Earth or in space, tears are part of being human. And that humanity follows us everywhere. Crying in space may sound funny at first, but it reveals deep truths about our biology. It shows how gravity shapes every aspect of our lives. It reminds us that emotions are universal, and that science can explain even the most personal moments. What starts as a simple question, what happens if you cry in space, turns into a lesson about physics, biology, and humanity. Space changes everything, but it doesn't change who we are. We still feel joy, fear, sadness, and hope, even if the tears don't fall the same way. Scientists continue to study this. They want to know how long-term missions will affect emotions. If humans go to Mars, or live on the moon, how will crying feel there? Will lower gravity make tears behave differently? These questions matter for future explorers. Understanding tears in space is more than curiosity. It's preparation for life beyond Earth. Because one day, humans may live permanently off-world, and they will still laugh and cry. Their tears may float, but their feelings will remain the same. So the next time you cry on Earth, think about how lucky you are. Your tears fall and wash your feelings away. In space, that relief feels incomplete. Your sadness sticks to your face like a bubble. Strange, isn't it? That something so ordinary becomes extraordinary in space. But that's the beauty of science. It shows us wonder in the smallest details. Even a tear can teach us about the universe. So what happens if you cry in space? The tears float. They blur your vision. They form bubbles on your eyes. They remind you that you are far from home. But they also remind you that you are human. And that humanity belongs wherever we go. From Earth to the moon. From the ISS to Mars. Our emotions travel with us. Tears in space are weird. But they are real. They are part of the astronaut experience. They connect science and emotion in one drop. And that's why they fascinate us all.